Hey guys, this is Justin Bob 100 here, and here is the third cycle of Level Critiques, my thread on Jigman's Village. I'm going to be separating this cycle into two parts, I guess, because four reviews is just kind of a weird number to do in one video. So I'm just going to do two in this video and two in a video that I will try to make tomorrow. But it all depends, school related stuff, how long it takes me to do things. But anyway, the first level we're going to review is Grief by Acno, and then after that we are going to follow it with Wonderland 3 by Levente77. So let us begin with Grief. Many of you may know him from Jigman's Village. Um, Positively or negatively, that's doesn't matter. All right. Okay, so what Acno, his style is very formulaic, and I respect that. I respect the it's very almost textbook kind of style thing, but I I understand it now. I really get it. Um, well, it's not always my style. I can appreciate it. So let's see. Okay, so we start off with a the emphasis in the beginning is height and going up, and yeah, this works. I really like that feeling that you're going up. It's a direction, but at the same time, you're not exclusively going up. The punishment for falling, it's a bit extreme, and to be honest, when I went through here the first time I got to the top, I did go down here because it is open and I was kind of curious. The change in direction is a little odd, so maybe make it impossible, like put two arrows here, like to push the player to here, to make it so it just shows the player you're not supposed to go here. Put some happy blocks up here. I like what you did with the vanish blocks, the mossy feeling. That's good. To be honest though, I think what I like the mossy feeling with the vanish, but what you should do with the ground is you should elevate it a bit and kind of elevate it and have it incline and decline in places to interact with the moss a bit. Right, and you have those evil sad blocks, but not enough people do that, so I'm actually kind of happy to see that. There are speed bursts, so yeah, this makes it less excruciating, but it almost kind of rewards you. I don't know. I don't know what I think of that. Glitch, actually pretty straightforward glitch. I'll go through a more in-depth analysis, really, because he has put some pretty interesting stuff that I can't just show you with by racing through. I really have to explain it. It's really cool what he's done. It's kind of one of those things where it's like you might not even notice it because the level is just so good. Like there's so much cool stuff that it's just part of the level, and it's really cool to pick up on. And you have that top path. I'll go through a little bit why I'm iffy on this bottom path a little later. You put some happy blocks over there. That's pretty good. I'm gonna be less annoying about stat blocks. Oops. Sorry about that, folks. Technical difficulties with the weird round ball object on my mouse. Alright, yeah, I'll play through the rest of it. Okay, so this is about where we were. This requires a bit of a super jump unless you get those stat blocks, and you can go a little higher. Um, this is sort of interesting. This is kind of interesting. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on this, but pretty much this bottom path, because of, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong. Water propulsion. I did it. Okay. It's not that hard to say propulsion, but based on the spelling, it's kind of weird. But based on water propulsion, it's pretty easy to do this. A little easier than maybe he intended it to be. It almost looks like this is meant to be kind of a little secret, or maybe it's supposed to trick the player into thinking it's a secret. But I'll go into that a little bit more in the camera thing. I like this. I'll explain why a little bit later. Pretty much, I like the decision between where you're supposed to jump and the consequence to it. This is a little harder, and if you fail, yeah, there's a bigger punishment. You do it from here, lesser punishment, but it takes a little bit to set up. I think that's pretty cool. Typical water vanish block section. Yeah, I don't really think that much of it. Maybe you could have done a little bit. Maybe, Acno, you could have done a little bit more interaction with the vanish by, like, maybe make it so the player has to go through a huge moss thing of vanishes and find the best path to go through it based on the water. I think that'd be pretty cool. And how, like, by destroying or getting rid of the vanish blocks temporarily, you actually go faster in the open part of it compared to where the water is. And that's good. Not a fan of this, and I will explain why. A lot of people use it, and I'm going to explain why it's not good for levels. And it's not because of, like, personal reasons, it's because of stat reasons. Alright, lots of bombs here, but that's fine. Kind of a required speed burst, which was a little weird at first because, like, you hadn't really required in the past, but, yeah. Oh, jeez, again. Well, okay, pretty much this, okay. I'm just gonna explain this. I'll show you, okay, this is the path you're supposed to go. You're supposed to go here, knock these vanish blocks, go through here, jump there, here. Try not to unintentionally fall down there. It's kind of a trap, I don't know, a repeat trap. You stay up here. You want to stay up is the main idea. Although it's not that hard to do. I don't know. Maybe it's just really easy for me to see these kind of puzzles. But it's a good experiment. It just doesn't work as well as I think he thought it would, or think you thought it would. I'm speaking to you, Acno, not some random person nowhere. I'm speaking directly to you. Oops. Seem to be... Yeah, my computer was lagging a little bit. I don't know. Yeah, you kind of stay up. This is like the one part where I think, yeah, that's good. It's a little bit missed here, but I'll explain that later. But really, what I'm going to do is, because I know, Acno, you are very formulaic and very textbook, I'm going to go through and kind of say, like, the parts that I think are pretty significant and pretty cool, but also say what I think and what you should change in other parts. Alright, based on the same concept. Okay, so this, the idea of going up is pretty good, and as I explained earlier, the fact that you're not just exclusively going up, you actually going into a thing and going around and doing that. I really liked what you did with this. Usually I think these are annoying, but the way you did it makes it less annoying because it's like you have kind of a safe zone, if you know what I mean. This part, as I said, I would have liked to seen a little more inclusion of the moss in the actual thing. Like, you see a little bit of it right here, but I think it's not enough. Maybe some elevation would help. Stat blocks. Interesting. Haven't seen that very much. You do it again. It's a little less effective this time because the punishment for it is actually, I don't know. At first, I was kind of ignoring this item block when I was, like, testing this, and I thought this was just a pain. But with the speed burst, it's actually not so bad. Kind of had to be on your toes while playing this level, which I like. I like that a lot. This glitch, usually I hate glitches, but I think this glitch works really well because it pretty much tells you everything it needs to without literally telling you. I mean, humans are smart. They're able to pick up on these kind of things. I like it when users actually like give how do I say this without sounding like a teacher? I like it when users kind of give a little bit more challenge to people, kind of like puzzle wise, without like actually telling them, making them kind of figure it out by trial and error. I think that's cool, okay? It's better than spoon feeding us. That's why newbie land levels don't work, kids. Just putting that out there. Alright, this works. Yes, I like this. I like the keyhole kind of idea. This works really well. Yep. This isn't as much of a threat as I think you thought it would be, because as the player is going up here, they can see this vanish block. Maybe it's because I'm just kind of I've seen this be done a lot, so like us experienced player, we all know Redemption in the campaign that did this, and it was a pain, but we learned from it, and a lot of people used it. Don't be like super fast going up these wall climb sections. So I don't know. It's a little too generous in my mind, but that's more of a personal thing. That's not a textbook kind of thing. Okay, this part is the most fascinating section of the whole level, and I will explain to you why. Alright? What you do is you tell the player so much. By this point, this is what the player sees, okay? You are able to show the player what comes ahead without actually showing them, which I love. I love how you did that. Okay, so the pretty much the player's going into this and like, okay, I see these vanish blocks. What do I do? Well, you see water here. Okay, water in the past has shown to be kind of a bad thing. Water seems to be the symbol for a failed section throughout, and it's pretty obvious. I pick up on that. All right, and I see that, and it's like, okay, so we know there's a bad section. All right, we also see a kind of an odd set of vanish blocks, and the player is thinking, okay, what is that? Why is that there? Why is there a thing of vanish blocks there? There has to be a reason for everything in this level, and there is. And good players will pick up on this and say, there's going to be something up. There's going to be something big up there that's going to help me. So what the player does, and instead of like, most players were actually gonna go on top of this anyway, but the good players are gonna jump off of this and know there's something ahead, and they see it and they're like, yes, I knew it, and they go to it and they feel satisfied because they get through the section really fast. The one problem though with this section is you use the idea is vanish blocks. I don't know. Throughout the level, it seemed like vanish blocks have been something on the roof, kind of above you. And this part is kind of supposed to mix it up because you know something cool, different is coming up. Here, it just seems a little unnatural. I know there's like moss and water, that's where it grows, but it, I don't know, maybe like water here too, like propelling yourself with water. As I said, water propulsion is pretty cool. I'm actually working on a level right now that experiments with water propulsion. It's gonna be pretty awesome. But I digress. That's not important right now. What's important is this, and it's definitely not something you need to change. It's just if you want to keep that kind of consistency going throughout, I would change it up. Okay, so, and then you see you have the moss here too. Okay, and you go through here. This is good. A nice change of pace with the stat boosts here, which can potentially make this not be a super jump. I think that's kind of cool. And it's like you still have things to do in the level. Alright, so you're going through here, and the player comes to here and they're like, okay, so I see this thing, and this is the part I was kind of talking about, I'm a little iffy on. I don't know if this is intentional, if you like want to make sure the player doesn't feel like they're more clever than they really are. I don't know. But what I see with this is I see a section. Okay, you may see like, oh, okay, it's a keyhole and a vanish block, and you're done. What I see, no, I see a crawl. This is a crawl. This is not a go in and then fly out. What happens, pretty much, if you don't understand what I'm saying right now, if you go here and you get rid of this vanish block, what you're left with is 2 blocks here and 2 blocks here, okay? So what that does is it makes there be sort of a tunnel. Vanish blocks take about, I want to say like a second, or I don't know the exact amount of time. A little over a second to deplete. But on the clock, that's huge. And the fact that like it takes you about a second to get through a keyhole, you're really just going through it. This hitting this block to get it to disappear takes about like maybe like a 3/4 of a second, and then actually going through the rest of it, that takes another uh, thing of time. When really you, as I showed earlier, you can propel yourself from the water really easily based on how shallow this is. I don't know. Uh, so what should you do? Well, what does the player get from going up here? What it seems to happen every time I do it is I'll land here on this spot, and then jump, go here, and then jump and go through here. When I go through here, I go whoop, and then hit the water, and I kind of propel myself, and I'm pretty sure I was able to get up to here somewhere from it propelling me, and then able to do some sort of jump where I was actually able to get through here as well. All in all, the bottom path is better when in the past it has been told to us that water is bad. I don't know. That's kind of how I see it, but I really like this, and I already explained why, because the choice, ooh, do I want to go through here and get a fast path, or do I want to go from here and be more safe? It's good. I explained I think you should do more with the vanish blocks here. I know you did it at the end, but I don't think you ever really did water and vanish all that much together. I mean, you did it right here, but this is pretty shallow. I think you really need to dig deep with the moss in this part. Um, really make the player have to look for open spots in the water, like open spots, like for this case, the parts that are black, like the open spots with no blocks, like the dead space. Uh, Kind of experiment with that and pockets of air, water, and vanish. And I think you could do something pretty cool with that. Oh, and something that I kind of forget about every time I play this is there's this path at the top that I think it gives an advantage, definitely, but it's so like out there. It's just, I don't know. I don't think you hint to it. It's very discreet, and that's the problem with it. I'm not going to go too much into it because you understand what you're doing with it. Make it a little. You've been showing that like vanish blocks represent the highest part and kind of the ceiling. Put a vanish, just a random vanish block there or here. That'll show people. People will pick up on that. Their brain will tell them, based on what I've seen in the map, if I go up there, it'll help me. I don't know. I don't really have any much to say about this. Oh, okay, this is probably the last big thing I'm going to talk about, okay? Alright, so pretty much how this whole water arrow block thing works, okay? This is how it works. Speed is speed is good if you don't touch the blocks. Pretty much if you go through this and you have speed and you go through really quickly, kind of from the top and kind of fall through here, perfect. You went through it really fine if you have high speed. Okay, if you have high acceleration, though, going from the top here isn't going to help you as much as literally just going straight through it, because when you have high acceleration, you don't worry about the arrows quite as much, and you're almost able to go through it without it being quite as much of a threat. I experimented with this in the level editor with I tried it with 100 acceleration and then lower and lower and lower, but what I noticed is with really high acceleration, you're able to get through this water section extremely fast compared to what I have, but my acceleration isn't even that low. So that's what I feel like that's a problem. And because it's a stat thing, and that's a very textbook concept to me. Okay, and you have bombs, and that's fine. I really don't focus on this all that much. It's bomb jumps, and it works well. Um, this is kind of odd. When I first saw this, but it's not bad. It's different that you implement the speed burst, although I don't know. The speed burst is very like low key, and low key. I kind of like that though. It's very discreet. It's in select locations, but it's never easy to get until here. So that's cool. And this works fine, although yeah, this is glitchable, but it's not too breakable. With this, just make it easier to fall down through here. I just feel like this is just it's too easy for people to pick up on this being like a bad thing. Everybody knows by now, go up top and you're fine, and it's too easy. Until here, this is the one part where I think you did it the best, where it's actually pretty easy to fall down. Here, not so much, it's more of a path. Alright, well that was really in-depth. Holy crap. I think you got more than you bargained for there. Yeah, so that's what I think you should do. It's a great level though, great race. I really liked the little things that make it a much bigger thing. Alrighty, and for the second review, I will be doing Wonderland 3 by Levente77, as said earlier, which was like circa 20 minutes ago. Yeah. Okay, so this is the third level, obviously, in the Wonderland series, and after playing through the Wonderland levels very extensively over and over again, I was able to finally figure out what makes them great. They're great levels. Explicitly, they're very good. They have good gameplay. You can always count on them having great gameplay. Now, here is really the meaning of it. I'm not sure, Levente77, if this is like the main thing you were going for, but here's what I see in your series. What works so well about your levels is the mixture of open areas, like for example this, closed sections with like very closed in, like kind of, what's a good example? Closed in sections like very narrow, really focuses on the blocks around you, and the tall, less closed but still closed sections, which is like in a cave but with a big area with a lot of movement, and you're able to move around a lot in it, but still have that feeling that you're inside of an object. Those are the three things that make these levels work the most, from what I see gameplay wise. It's the mixture of those three concepts. And this is why I think the one you did the best job of it in was the second one, because that mixed the three things perfectly. The first one, I liked that one too. That one felt more open. That one, I think, felt the most open to me. It had less, like, really small closed sections, but it had a lot of open and tall closed sections. Tall closed as in, like, caves with bigger caves, but like bigger caves, as in taller, you know. This, I would consider this whole section right here a closed section. And this part understanding this is very important. What I just said with the open, close, tall, close section is very important if you're to understand where I'm going from for this level, or where I'm coming from. Okay, here's what I think of this level like from the start. I've gone through it, I've seen it. It's complicated. Okay, it's a very complicated level, and I can tell you focused on the little sections very extensively. The problem with the level, the one problem though with the level, is in focusing on these small closed sections, you lost the open and even the tall closed sections that made the other ones great. And maybe this is my fault for kind of in the past. Looking at the other reviews, I did kind of stress very focus on the blocks structure, like the specific blocks, and not as much the entire map around you, your surroundings. And I apologize for that. But right now, I'm going to tell you that it's too many closed, very small closed section. And I think that's the problem with even some of my levels. I'm not perfect. Alright, I make mistakes like everybody else. Okay, so let's go through. I'm going to go through now. Considering this will be a lot easier to go through. I'm going to be kind of stressing the open, closed, tall, closed kind of thing. This first part actually feels like a tall, closed section, and I like that. I think that's a good way. You started with an open, that's good. You started, and then you went to a tall, closed, and then, okay, you go to a closed. And that's great. That's a perfect sequence. Alright? And then, alright, so you were still, but although the area is kind of open, here, based on the nets and the arrows, it's still a closed section. There's not much wiggle room. And going into here, we can see that it's still closed. At most, you're gonna have maybe 5 blocks of room between the floor and the ceiling. Nitpicky things, I don't know. Nobody really seems to be wanting to go through there. Alright, here's another part that kind of, you can't mix open and closed together in this way. The safety nets, here's the problem with the safety nets, is although you're outside, you see the hills and the clouds and the blue sky, you still feel like you're inside of the cave. Because the nets feel like they're almost restricting you. And you could, oh geez, I'm gonna have to glitch. I can do this, this is basic. Yeah, here we go. Sorry about that. I digress. Here's how you could easily make this feel less closed. Get rid of the nets on the ceiling, alright? You don't really have to worry as much about people super jumping out of it. That's not your focus. Your focus isn't that. Your focus should be on making sure the level has a nice feel, a good feeling of gameplay that the other two and the whole series has been known for. Alright? And then you kind of go, you have a very brief open section, and just make this more open. That's the biggest thing. Make this section here like the same length but more open. I'm gonna say open closed a lot in this part of the video, so sorry if it gets annoying, but I think it's pretty important for, I believe it is very important for making this level better. Alright, so here, I could consider this, this is kind of a small obstacle, which I've stressed in the past. Small jump things, which is fine. This is a little bit misleading. I don't know, it's a little too much at once. Like, you have a path here. Oops. Ah, shoot. Look, I'm gonna have to get to this point again. Be right back. Alright, so what I meant to say earlier is that there's a little bit too much going on right here. It's kind of weird because it's sort of closed, but sort of tall closed. at the same time, I don't know. It's like there's a lot of distractor blocks in this part to make it like, and then this little portion right here that's kind of sticking up makes it feel a lot less of like the tall closed idea. When I say tall closed, I mean like caves that are open. That's what I mean. Cave or a section with a floor and a ceiling that feels open. But Happy Block a little bit. It's fine unless it's distracting, and I think it's distracting because the player doesn't really. I guess they kind of see it from over here, but oh, I just glitched. Haha. Yeah. Oh. Okay. That's not important. Um, you seem to like to use push blocks, but you don't really do much with the push blocks. It's kind of the same thing. You just push, you just push them. But I mean, that's the idea. You push them. But maybe I know you're a good level maker, and I know you're good at gameplay, and I think you could do a little bit more with them. I want to see what you can think of. Really experiment with. The best way to think of new ideas is to experiment with multiple blocks and multiple styles. You can really get some cool stuff and make it your own if you experiment with things like that. All right, large water section. The thing about water is a lot of people don't like it because it's used um, actually the way you'd think it'd be used. It's just a body of water. But what makes water blocks so great is the physics involved with it. The fact that once you leave the water and you're in the air, you almost propel out of it. That's what makes water so great in platform racing too. Don't use water as much for the water. Use it for either the aesthetic or the speed aspect, or maybe even the water propulsion. Oh, geez. Oh, wow. Water propulsion. I said in the grief review that it was a hard word to say, and of course, when I'm not thinking of it, I pronounce it completely wrong. Like it's spelled like propulsion. It's not propulsion, but it's pronounced that way. Anyway, this is an open section, but since it's kind of hanging from the ceiling, I don't know. I kind of like these though. You have some of these hanging from the ceiling open sections. I don't consider them really their own thing, but you could argue that this is a mix between open and tall closed because it doesn't have a floor. All right. Woo. All right, here we go. We're back in. I can tell already this is going to be a closed section. I'm. Actually, no. I like what you did here. What you did, I think you need to do more of this, is simply the player is just going from here to here, yet around you there's still more to the cave. It's not like it's just very linear and just a set path to where you're going. There's actually stuff beyond the blocks in the path you're going, and I really like that. It makes it feel more like a cave to me. Um, I'll explain the Wonderland thing and how I think it maybe doesn't apply, the name of it maybe doesn't apply to your level, but that's at the end. Right now we're focusing on the gameplay and the open closed, tall closed thing that I've been preaching. Alright, so I like that. Pretty much open sections that are there just to look good. Okay. Oh, this is kind of interesting how you have to, this is an example of a good use of a closed section. Experimenting but it almost kind of feels open because of like the area around it. It's always about the space around it. If you're really going for an artistic kind of expressive piece in a level, have there be a lot of space that maybe isn't affecting the player directly, but is there and is seen and is consciously like makes it feel more like the player is doing what they see they're in, which is a cave. But whatever. I like how the player has to kind of time this. That's good. All right. Again with the push blocks, I already said it. I like to see a little bit more because I know you can do it. I know you can do it. All right. Happy block. I like happy blocks. They're fun. I usually don't really care about this kind of thing, but I don't know. I feel like analyzing this, the crumble. Oops. Okay, I'm just gonna finish what I'm saying here. And honestly, to be honest, I'm just gonna go. Well, no, I'll play through the rest of it. I'm not gonna tap out and be like, I'm gonna just go through this with the camera because I can. No, I'm not about that. Okay, I'm gonna go through like a real person, not just this fake computer person who just has the power of vision. Alrighty, I'm back. I kind of overshot my positioning a bit, so a little bit of it I went through, mainly just the push blocks, so nothing major. But what I was saying with this is I feel like the crumble block, I don't know if this is intentional, but the crumble block almost seems like it makes this section not be necessary to have, like, these blocks here at all. But maybe that's the idea of it's like a you're trying to make it open to what you want to do, which I like, the kind of going with the whole open to all close thing. I am not done with that. Sorry. I am sorry. I think that is really what he's going. I really firmly believe. Oh, I just dropped something. I firmly believe in the idea of mixing the feeling of each section, not just having it be the same throughout with the height. Height is pretty crucial to the levels, but I digress. What I think, actually, now thinking about it, I wouldn't mind if you just got rid of this arrow block just in general. I think it's a little more interesting going here and then going up through here than it is breaking a crumble block and just going up. I don't know, it almost defeats the purpose. I really like this. I think this is more fun than I don't know, I think our minds will consciously see that and they'll be like, oh, I can just abuse this. Which we're trying to abuse the level to get a better time, but by doing so, we're making it less fun for ourselves. So it's like, what? You're kind of attacking yourself. All right. So this is more of a. I'm gonna call this a short. This is a closed section, really, because of all the blocks around it. Like, what makes this closed is these blocks and how it's really nets. Here's the thing about nets. Replace a net with a block because it kind of, the way it's shaded, it makes it seem like it's its own entity, but it is still a block. And if you replace every net with a block and then play through your level with, but still going in the same motion as you would with a as if they were safety nets, you might see something. You might see in your level that, hey, this closes it off a bit too much. You know, I don't know. Actually, I do know. I feel like that is a valid problem that I've done myself. I'll admit. And you go back and you finally do the sword section. I'm like, hooray, you did it. Because in the first one especially, you did a lot. You did a lot with swords, and it worked because of how open it was. Because the first one was very open, so the sword idea worked. Okay, go through here, another push block. Whee! Oh, geez. I actually really like this because it makes you think a little bit. And not a little bit, it makes you think. When first went into this, I was a little bit confused, which is a good thing. Confusion is actually a good thing. It makes it more entertaining. But too much confusion is not a good thing. What I see is you're like, oh, okay, so you're having to go through here and you're speeding through there. And try not to hit that. But at the same time, you want to go through this without going too fast so you don't hit that. But at the same time, you also don't want to go too slow or you will get hit by this bomb. Yeah, there's a lot to think about right there. More than like the average player would think, you know? Alright, and then, ooh, wow, we're almost done. Okay, and then you go to an open section, and, and then you go to a closed section. Here's how you need, okay, if you're gonna change anything in the level, it has gotta be the ending. I don't think it's an appropriate way to end the Wonderland series, the Wonderland trilogy. You need a more grand ending. You need to have, honestly, you need to have an open section or you need to have a tall closed section. You can't finish with a closed section. Because the closed section, really, the gameplay is just meant to be there to, honestly, not for filler, but to make the player kind of get used to the blockage in the level. And little, like, smaller things, smaller jumps to contribute to the entire level. I'm using a lot of stuff. I am saying a lot of stuff right now. I am sorry. But if you're going to change one thing, other than the open, closed, tall, closed concept, it's the ending. Now, what you do is, this is what you have. You have a section that's open, you have the hills, and then you go back into a cave, you see your name, and you hit the finish. You need to encompass all three sections right here. What you need to do is probably, since you're transitioning out of a cave, make there maybe be a ceiling here, but have this block here. This is just kind of something you see. Doesn't have to really contribute to anything, but just like kind of the hanging feeling here. And then have the player maybe, then show the closed section off by getting out of that, having that ceiling diminish, meaning cut this out. And the player will see the open section. And then have a small little section maybe for a closed, cool concept, focusing on maybe one or two blocks at max, and then finish it with a huge open cave that it doesn't even have to do that much with the blocks. I think the more open, the better, so the player can reflect on what they've done. Yeah, that's pretty deep. And that's, I think, picturing that in my head, I can see that in my head right now, and I could say, that'll look cool. But if you could project what I'm thinking right now and what I've tried to explain with a white arrow with a stick and a microphone, you can project some awesome stuff. In conclusion, I love your gameplay. I love what you've done throughout the series. Just focus on making sure you include what made the original two awesome. Which, if you don't know what that is by now, you need to turn your not your microphone, you need to turn your speakers up. Because I think I've said open, closed, tall, closed at least 200 times, but I'm not going to have some sort of corny counter that says the amount of times I've said it, because that would be lame. But I digress. I love this level, and I love what you did with the gameplay. Holy crap, that was a long video. Wow, yeah. That was 40 minutes, probably like 45. This is probably going to be a 45-minute video, guys. Thank you for staying with me. And but if you're just skipping to the end to see if I say like grassy ass in some weird funny voice, I might. But you have to stay to the end to hear it. But there's no point in me saying this because if you were to like want to just see it for that, you would have went to the last like 5 seconds because that's usually when I would have said it. Anyway, this was only part one of cycle three. Tomorrow, I can't commit to tomorrow. I'll try though to do the other two levels, which are one of them is Sync by Fresh Cookies, and the other one, actually, I'm just gonna look it up in the video. Yeah, that's why not? It's already been 45 minutes. Why not make it longer? Nausea by Dexterity, of course, Dexterity. Yeah, so yeah, Nausea by Dexterity is the other one, and I'll try to do that tomorrow. If I can't, sadly, it'll probably have to be next week. Well, no, it can't be next weekend. I'm gonna try to do it during the week. All right, stay classy, my friends. This is Justin Bob 100 signing out. Gracias.